Alright guys, welcome back to episode 2 of our sort of like casual conversation, where this is again going to be like a podcast kind of video. There's not going to be B-rolls. We are not going to focus on just one phone. It's not going to be a review. But as you can see from today's topic down below, the main question that I want to discuss with you guys is all about Zoom. Do Zoom really matter to you? Do you actually use Zooms like, on a daily basis? How often do you actually zoom into objects? And does the capability of one phone's zoom actually decide your purchase decision? Also, we're going to take a closer look at this device here from Vivo. It's called the Photographer Kit. I've been testing it out quite a fair bit, and I want to share with you some more insights on what you can expect with this, because I do have some comments about people asking me whether it's coming into Malaysia at least, and whether you can actually buy one. So I'll share with you some more insights about this guy, and maybe this will actually help you out whether to decide if you should get this or not. Okay, but before that, another main thing that I saw in the comments, actually I do read all of your comments, so feel free to keep posting down below. Put in all your kind of thoughts, whatever you feel like you have in your mind, your opinions, put it down below. Everyone else can see it. So before we jump in and talk a bit about the zooms on these guys, yep, the current trinity for me, I want to touch very quickly on the Magic 8 Pro. Now obviously I don't have that phone here with me. This is still my RSR Magic 7. But I actually did had the chance to very quickly and briefly handle the Magic 8 Pro in China. Again, actually I did a short video on it on my Instagram. I'm not really trying to push my Instagram so much, but I really do put a lot of stuff on there, so you can go and check it out if you want to. If you don't want, that's completely fine, guys. So anyway, I have a very brief encounter with the Magic 8 Pro, and if any of you are like waiting on whether you should get a new flagship, either one of these guys, or if you should just wait a couple, maybe a month more for the Magic 8 Pro, my opinion to you is this: you definitely should wait. Because so far, if you're going to get a flagship, definitely you want it to be the best of the best, at least for the coming year, right? So my first impressions on the Magic 8 Pro, first thing that came to mind, immediately I felt that it was more compact than the Magic 7 Pro or even this guy. The 7 RSR is actually very close to the Magic 7 Pro. I decided to keep this instead of the 7 Pro because I just wanted one. But first thing is like it's even more compact. You pick it up, you feel it's smaller. The display itself, in fact, is also smaller. I don't know exactly by how many inches, but you can go and check that out. It's slightly more compact. And the best part is that the curved bezels on the side of the screen, yeah, it's still there. It's the only flagship so far in 2025, released in 2025, out of all the phones that I've talked about, that is going for a slightly curved bezel, where everyone else is going flat, like I said in my previous video. So that's quite interesting, but it's very, very minor, very small touch there. So much so to the point where I think, it might be forgivable. Some of you don't like those curved screens, but it's just very bit tiny compared to what we have here on the Magic 7 series. Another thing that's obviously going to get upgraded is the 8 Elite Gen 5 chipset. You're going to have that in the latest Magic 8 Pro. But just looking at the cameras themselves, what I noticed here is that the cameras that they are using is actually extremely similar, if not the same, as the ones on the Magic 7 series. So if you're expecting like a huge jump in terms of the camera performance, I'm not sure if we can say that it's going to be great or not because we haven't really tested that out. I've only taken a couple of photos. I didn't actually manage to transfer them out from the phone at the retail store to my phone. Somehow it just couldn't transfer across. But in terms of the megapixel count, they're the same: 50 MP for your main, 200 megapixel for your tele, and 50 megapixel again for your ultra wide. The interesting here is that the sensor sizes are all the same as the Magic 7 series, but the key difference that I found here is actually in the telephoto, where currently we are having a 3 times on here, but on the new Magic 8 Pro is going to go to 3.7 times. So when you're taking portraits, you might need to take a few steps back if you are already a user of the Magic 7 series. Another huge change is definitely going to come in terms of the battery. Like for this model, I think it's like 5.85K mAh, 5850 mAh. And for the new Magic 8 series, the global one I heard might actually go to 7,200 mAh. Now we already know that HONOR is not the kind of brand that will hold back in terms of their battery sizes. They're always giving you the largest battery out there. Whether or not the phone can last that long is another story, but 7.2K mAh, guys. That's huge in a more compact form factor kind of device. So, I know a lot of people out there always say that the phones are too huge and all that. So the Magic 8 Pro is coming in at a slightly smaller size, which I think a lot of you might actually like. So those are the new things that I noticed right off the bat when I handled the phone for a couple of minutes. Okay, now let's move on to our main topics of the day, which is whether you should care about Zoom. Now, I want to highlight first and foremost this Zoom kit, or what Vivo is calling the photographer kit, which actually comprises of 3 main components. So first up, we actually have the case. The case itself has an adapter that I've already affixed to the back here. See, that's why I say you guys should follow my Instagram. I did a whole unboxing there. But anyway, let me repeat. So we have an adapter at the back here that works just like how you would get on your own camera. You have one sort of like a grip on the side, which is actually very handy. Without this guy, you would practically find it very difficult to hold the phone, simply because the form factor, the way it's built, is like it's tilt forwards. And finally, of course, we do have this zoom lens. Now, it's worth mentioning that for this particular handle, it does come with a couple of buttons on the top. You have your shutter button, your zoom button, the toggle, you have your record button, and yada yada. All your shortcuts are all on here, which is very important. Another very interesting thing that I want to highlight here is that some people might not mention it, but if you just look at the branding down here, it says vivo/PGY Tech. Now, if you guys are familiar with PGY Tech, they do all kinds of mobile accessories, high quality ones. So this is actually a sort of like collab between Vivo and them. And that's why it's also made so well. Now, about this lens kit, there's a couple of things I want to highlight before I talk about the actual quality, whether it's a gimmick, whether it's actually better than just zooming in using the phone's AI. We'll do a very quick comparison. I'll talk about that as well. But yeah, so this lens is actually quite heavy, I would say. I put it on the scales and it's about 200 grams. If you add that together with the case, it's about 250. And if you add that together with the final handle grip, that's about 350 grams. So it's not lightweight. You're putting quite a bit of heft onto your phones. And just side by side, this is actually a very lightweight lens. So I do a bit of video stuff, as you guys can see. And I was just wondering, like, look at this guy. It's quite huge, but it's made of plastics, and hence it's actually lighter than this guy, which is made from some pretty solid metal material. So rest assured, although it's a bit heavy, but you're getting some properly built devices. All right, so now the golden question is, is it better to zoom on here just using your, main sensor and AI and all that, or is it actually better to zoom in on this guy? Okay, so I did a test real quick. I put it about 800 millimeters because I feel that if you push it all the way to the max, using the lens kit itself, the final result is not the best. The best sweet spot is still at 800 mm, which I think is already very far. Now, 800 mm translated to the camera zoom is approximately 33.33 times. Hopefully my maths is correct. I asked ChatGPT for that. So 33.333 times, you can see that if you put both side by side without the lens and with the lens, you notice that with the lens, obviously you're going to get something that's much sharper, ones that look actually, not so processed, and it's actually something that you could actually see with your own. It's like using a binoculars to see something, because after all, this is all hardware related, whereas the AI zoom enhancements are all software related. In this case, the hardware is still stronger than the software. So that is my question to you as well. Like I said, do you care about zoom? Will you be buying this? Or will you just be using the zoom on your phones? I would say that the side-by-side comparison, you can see a big diff between the quality, but if you do not have the lens kit, you will still be very impressed with what you can do with the software on the vivo X300 Pro. So that's just in terms of the zoom. Again, more samples can be found on my IG. If you want to see like close up, zoom in and all that, like I said, this video is just a podcast. I'm not going to be doing any B-rolls here. You can go and check that out. Another thing that I want to highlight here is the shooting experience. When this lens kit is actually on the phone, it's actually a little bit tricky because it's so front heavy to get a very stable shot. And sometimes your phone might wiggle a little bit because it's just front heavy, but give it some patience. And if you do manage to get a good picture, the results are actually very, very spectacular. Now, I think for me personally, it all depends on the price of how much this photographic kit comes in when it lands in global markets or even in Malaysian markets. If it's affordable, why not? Might as well go all out and get the full kit and get a full photographic experience, especially if you are a photographer or a photography enthusiast. I mean, you can even use this to go and shoot some videos, but it's going to be a bit wobbly, like I said, because of the front heaviness. But it does help you to elevate your photography experience, give you a different perspective, do something different from just using AI on the zooms. And yeah, I think it might actually be pretty interesting. But let me know, do you zoom at all? Is zoom important to you? Do you feel that all these flagships giving us 100 times, 120 times zoom is too much? Or this is actually something that you do want in your phone and you are very happy to zoom? Just some quick notes, by the way, the Oppo as well as the Xiaomi, these two guys here actually go all the way up to 120 times zoom, whereas Vivo itself maxes out at 100 times. Just in case you guys are wondering about who goes further. So that's my main conversation for today. Is zoom important at all? So far, these phones has all been giving me a very happy but busy time. I'm still testing out the Oppo. I know a lot of you are asking me about ColorOS and all that. Yep. To me personally, ColorOS is actually one of my favorite OSs compared to all the other ones out there, simply because it's cleaner. As someone who comes from Oxygen OS, the OnePlus back then, I really like how a lot of those stuff has been ported onto the ColorOS. But one final thing, just a quick note here that I couldn't do on ColorOS is this time around, it doesn't allow me to remove the fonts underneath the apps in my main screen. I'm not sure why they do that. For me personally, I always remove all the name of the apps on my home screens because I just want something clean like what you can do here on this Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. Do you guys actually use your app names on your screens? Yeah, maybe it's just me, but apparently on ColorOS latest version, you can't do that. I'm not sure why. So we'll figure out more about that later. Anyway, thank you for joining me today on this very quick podcast, chill chat session, whatever you're gonna call it. I need to think of a name for this series. But again, very exciting times ahead. Hopefully the Magic 8 Pro comes in quick so I can test it out further. And thank you for watching all the way to the end. Always appreciate your support. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.